Good Sunday evening to you. This is Dr. Sonia Cunningham Leverett back with you for another Hadassah's Crown author interview. Tonight we have a #1 best-selling author coming on to interview with us regarding her book. It is called Turning Trash into Treasure. Beautiful book here that we are going to discuss. And I see her here with me. So let me get her added to my camera. See her as well. Taking a moment, bear with us. Yes, we are connected. Hello there. How are you?
Just fine. How are you?
Doing well. Happy Sunday evening to you.
Same to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you've had a great weekend and a good day.
I've had a great day. Great day. And
Good. Awesome. Very good. Very good. So, let's see, make sure my volume is all the way up. We had an interview a few weeks ago before the book was launched. That was that was the day that it was launched, back July 8th. And since then, there have been a tremendous number of sales. You made it to bestseller, #1 on the list for children's books with values that teach values. So
yeah,
congratulations. That is
thank you.
amazing and that's fabulous. So I'd like to just, thank you for all that you've done to market and to get the book out there. But I'd also like to thank your support system who have just been awesome, and they have shared your post. They've met the call of purchasing the book. They've posted copies that they've purchased, and there's a lot of excitement about this book. And there are many reasons that there is excitement about the book, and that's what we're going to talk about this evening. We're also going to talk about a big event that you have going on next week.
Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit and just have you share about, or anything that you'd like to share. I just am assuming that everybody knows you who's watching, but there may be somebody who's not. Tell us what we need to know about best-selling author Katrina Johnson, and then talk about your pathway to becoming an author.
Okay. And for those that are watching, yes, most people know me as just Trina. If you know me as Trina, that means I know you from way back. And it's okay because I love that. And I do love the love of people supporting, because they can look and say, I know her, didn't know what the story was about, but I've had a lot of people who would chime in and say, Trina, and then they ask, was that you? And I just said, well, whatever you think. But my becoming an author was pretty much God sent. And through you, again, Sonia Cunningham Leverett, I thank you for your inspiration, because I have to go back to when you came into my office a couple of years ago and showed me the Bulldog book, and I fell in love with it. And I said, something I always wanted to do was to write a children's book, because I'm a lover of reading. I read everything, and try to stay away from Google as much, because I know you start thinking about, oh, that's me, that's me. So it's just a way to think and broaden your perspective on a lot of things. But my journey is pretty much just like life. In life, we learn, we grow, and we go into different directions in our life in hopes to pick up something that will cause us to grow and have better experiences. So my journey into becoming an author was me just simply putting my thoughts down on paper. And I wonder, how can I condense all of my thoughts that I have into something that will keep the attention of a reader? So I just started writing, and I figured out, what type of story do I want to tell? Because I have many stories to tell, as we all do. But you, again, thanking you, when I wrote down my thoughts and you said, Katrina, this is more of a chapter book because of all of the experiences I put together. So condensing those into one book developed Turning Trash into Treasure. So that was my journey. And as with any author, I'm sure journaling makes a difference because you have all of those thoughts. And again, in my closet, in my bathroom, I put these little sticky notes, even in my phone, about thoughts that I have or thoughts that I've just encountered about different things. And I just journaled those and put those down in hopes that didn't really think they would turn into a book, but it did. So I'm thankful for that.
And you know, that is something that you have in common with a lot of authors. Many of us do start by just jotting down ideas. We don't know where they're going to go, how they're going to come together, but definitely the first two short stories that I had published began from my journaling. And I write everywhere, anywhere. It was funny, somebody I was interviewing a few weeks ago talked about how they write on the back of receipts that they get from stores. I do it in the drive-through line. I'm sitting waiting for the doctor. I'm, you know, writing on my tablet. It's, if you have thoughts, just put them on paper. You never know where they may go. And what could be trash, that receipt, it could be trash, but you turn it into treasure. So I love that. So your father has been an entrepreneur for a very, very, very long time. And I like that we have that in common because my mom and dad were both entrepreneurs too. And they've always kind of instilled in me that I want to eventually have my own business and so forth. What did you watch from your father that could inspire somebody now that is really trying with a startup, or maybe they've already started something up and they just need some encouragement? What would he say to them?
My dad, and usually with my dad, because my mom and dad have been together for so long, I don't know anything else. And again, with you having that in common, one is going to say something and the other one is going to echo. So I just, knowing my dad, he would say, stick to whatever it is, the purpose and the passion. The passion will come first, knowing the purpose that you are serving, and then the perspective that you have on whatever it is you're pursuing. Because whenever he sets out to do something, he doesn't stop. And I found myself having those same characteristics. Maybe that's what he and my mother had in common as well, because they don't stop. Even to this day, they just continue. And for the last couple of weeks, I sat down and I said, well, I'm not ready to take care of the old people because, you know, we're all getting older, but I've just never seen my mother and father slow down with what they wanted to do in life and what they wanted for their family. So their pursuit of excellence, it's just always stood the test of time. So I can see him saying, your passion and whatever you want to do and that purpose and your perspective will get you to the next level.
That's awesome. And that's great advice that I will adhere to, because when you have a passion, that drive, and there are going to be those moments in any business, anything that you do, but if you really, really let it sink in, you have to have that determination that just keeps you going. So I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. So we want to talk just for a few minutes about the detail in your illustration, because it, to me, in my opinion, is over and beyond what you often see in children's picture books or, you know, middle school books and so forth. And so what was your journey to finding your illustration, and what was it like working with him?
Eric Bomar is hands down. I'm not sure if he's watching or not, but he's an excellent artist. He did an illustration for me for a friend a couple of years ago. And when I saw every detail that he added, and it was the illustration, it detailed a uniform, and it had every single illustration to the T. And my friend, she told me, she says, Katrina, he got everything just right. I didn't know, because I didn't know what to look for on that uniform, but he's just excellent. His calm demeanor, his excellence for detail. And he told me, when I asked him, I said, I want you to illustrate a children's book for me. He's like, okay. He didn't say, okay. He did tell me, he said, well, I've never done that before. He said, but okay, we can do that. And I told him, I said, I ask a lot of questions and I'm very detailed in what I do. I said, so if I ask you a lot of questions, I said, just know that I have a vision for it, and I'm going to get to that. And that's part of my passion and my purpose as well. But he said, okay, well, he drew me, I sent him the manuscript, and he drew me every rough draft. And he said, tell me what you see that's different from what I see. it was pretty much clear. He hit it on the nail. And a couple of changes, I told him, I said, well, the house should look like this, because in the book, if those of you who have read it, I didn't detail a setting, a particular setting, because I wanted them to use imagery and detail to see where's the setting coming from, so that when children read it, they can imagine, is it the 70s? Is it the 80s? But there's a song in there that I detailed. And I asked my daughter, I said, do you know what Planet Rock is? I do, but I started with the beat, and I said, okay, this is where you get the beat, dun, dun, you know, and most people know that. So he hit it dead on point when he drew out all of those illustrations. So I appreciate him, because he was very easy to work with. And again, he drew me the rough drafts, sent them to me. I had a few changes, but he went back and he said, now, Miss Katrina, because I think I was getting too detailed. He said, before I color, you need to tell me, okay? So it was one that he added color to, and he had to go back, but I don't even know how he erased the color. That's how amazing he is, because when I saw the final draft, it was as if that part was never there. So, but wow. That's what it does. So
that's true. And I don't know him. I've read his illustrator's profile in the book. I've seen his picture, but his work is absolutely amazing. And so if there's anyone out there who's interested in having something drawn or needs an illustrator, his contact information is here. So feel free to contact him, and just maybe he'll do more of these. This won't be a one-stop wonder for him. And I know, because of our last interview, that there's more in you as well. And that's why you have coined Legacy Reads, because this is such a passion for you. You're reading and you're writing and now sharing your stories. And I'm hoping that this is going to continue to be such a great experience for you, that you're going to be eager and excited to get that next book out, the next book we're going to claim in this very same series. But I know that there's interest from schools as far as using this book with even teachers, not just students, but teachers. So tell us about the values that they can pull out of this to help with parents or with adults, so that this could be used for professional development, especially starting the school year back.
Okay. Whether you're a leader, that's an administration, or that's a certified teacher, because we're all teachers at heart, whether you're in the leadership part of education, this book can be used, because it's exactly as you said, turning trash into treasure. So that's taking something, or what someone may seem to be nothing, and making it out of something. So as far as leadership, coming out of COVID, because that's when I actually finished what I started, because we all had an opportunity to sit down and finish what we started. And I heard someone say to me before, if you didn't have a change in mindset, or if you didn't do something different from what you did when COVID hit, shame on all of us, because that was our wake-up call. And I hope that all of us will continue to pursue those things, to say, oh, I'm going to start this. I mean, I dieted like several times, but I'm back at the start. But that's just an example, because as a leader, we are pursuing those goals that we want others to follow with. So as a classroom teacher, this book, you can take it, you can turn it into it's a mini lesson that you can use. You can also use some of the standards, and that's South Carolina standards. So I'm sure that would be nationwide. Point of view, character development, character and plot development, dialogue, imagery, descriptive writing. All of this is discussion questions in the back that just promote children to think outside of the box. So with adults, we can always see too that this story, because I have had some of the adults to think, because it took them back to childhood to say, you know what, we learn our best lessons not only in a book or on the computer, we learn our lessons in life. And the lesson that this little girl received was a lesson that carried her throughout life, because sometimes people can tell you things, they can tell you how you're feeling because of the way they feel, they can tell you how you're thinking because of the way they think. But you have your mind made up sometimes, and then they quickly change it because they give you their opinion of what they think should be. But that's not always the lesson that you may receive out of that particular experience. So what I want everyone to see is that this was a labor of love for me. So I didn't expect it to turn into what it is turning into, because all I simply wanted to do was to put my thoughts on paper. And putting my thoughts on paper has exceeded what I thought, because it's turning into something else. And of course, I did have some of the administrators in the principal world to say, hey, Katrina, I could use this book, and I'll be glad to speak on it in every way, because I know what lessons I've learned. So if we could just take these walks in life, these talks in life, just to know that education does come from far more than the books that we read and prepare our children for every day. As educators, we prepare them to take a test. We prepare, whether it's the end of the course or end of the year. But what about those tests in life that you're going to encounter? And if you don't have a strong foundation, your mind can quickly change into, oh, I don't feel that way anymore. But we want to teach children that we don't react on our feelings. We react on what is just and what is right. So when you have that strong foundation, you can navigate through life, you can navigate through relationships, through people, and all of those experiences that you are going to encounter, whether you want them or not. We have hard conversations. So I figured that the dad in this book had a hard conversation, but how it was handled was like, oh, okay, well, let me show you. It was another lesson in life that I've carried with me. So I appreciate those lessons.
That's awesome. So you really said a mouthful in that. One thing, we can teach children to value experiences that they have. And sometimes some of the most painful experiences are the ones that catapult us into becoming better people. And then because you have taken the time to write your story and to share, to give people hope and to uplift them, is coming back to you twofold. You are truly being supported and being rewarded for, you know, just actually investing in humanity. And so kudos for that. And you deserve, you know, all of that. So I'm just very proud of the way things have happened. And like I said, you know, I know that there are more stories. And so it's great that you're receiving this outpouring to tell you what you're doing is great. Keep going. And we want to hear more from Legacy Read. So that's a great thing as well. I've seen an administrator, and I've seen others do it too. For example, Dr. Stephen Peters, who was the superintendent in Lawrence for the past few years. He's no longer there now. He's in another capacity, but he would begin his presentation with a $100 bill, and he would bend it, he would fold it, he would crumple it, he would put it under his shoe and stomp it. But at the end of it, he'd say, does anybody want this? Well, it still has the same value. And that is his way of telling people, you know, children may not be taken care of the way they should. They may not come with the best clothes on. Sometimes they may not smell the best. Whatever it is, that value is still there. Don't ever let them not be treated to their true value. And when I think of turning trash into treasure, you know, it's unfortunate that anyone would look at a child as though they're not worth anything, but we see it. We know that unfortunately people do. And so this is a great talk at the beginning of the school year to say it doesn't matter where they come from. It's about where we're trying to help them go. And I hope that's one of the lessons that administrators can use with teachers to empower them to see value and purpose in every child that walks into their classroom. So this
that's extremely important to me. And that was a lesson I always carried with me as well, because with my dad employing people, you always want to give people chances, because sometimes in life, unfortunately, we don't always have a second chance. So when people want to exceed and excel in different things, you have to find a way to promote them and edify them. It's just like edifying the building, so that you can sow into them and give them an opportunity to show themselves approved. So
exactly.
I believe in that with children. I believe in that with people, because we need, and at this point in life, we need each other. I attended an event yesterday, and the overwhelming support that people gave. Did the event have some ups and downs? Yes, it did. But just seeing people together and showing that we need each other, this is a perfect example of, you know what, we don't have anything. Last year we didn't have anything besides each other. And what a great way to come back to a foundation with our families, because I cook more than I had ever cooked in the last couple of years, because I've been always on the go, always moving and doing other things. But God tells us you take care of home first. And when you take care of home, all those other things are going to fall in place. So when you don't have anything, you look and see that strong foundation will keep you, and it will keep coming back. So I appreciate that. I appreciate some of the educators that have reached out to me, Trina. Now, my littles, and that's my 3rd grade and under, they don't quite understand all of the lessons in it, but I told another administrator and educator, hey, let them take a picture walk. Let them take a picture walk. And I read to a summer camp last week, and the littles were getting a little, because it is a chapter book, they were getting a little agitated. So I just started with my beat, with the song, got a hook, drew them back in. And my daughter was with me. And I told her, I said, hey, you hold the pictures while I read through the book. And we worked as a team. And what they did is they understood. And I said, what do you think the treasure is? And they started digging really deep, even at 6, saying, hey, you make sure you treat everybody fairly. Hey, you make sure we love people. So other lessons started coming out of this lesson. So it's a way to get everyone on the same page and start learning that we do need each other. And whatever it is, doesn't mean anything to you. It means something to someone. So
Exactly.
we have to.
Exactly. Well, and that's great that children were able to pick that up. And that is a perfect age for them to learn that, to not only learn how valuable they are, but that everyone in the class, everyone in the school is very valuable. And it's a great message for districts too, because, sometimes districts look at zip codes. This is what we get from this zip code, and this is what we get from this zip code. Well, we're getting children, we're getting a human product from every zip code. So it doesn't matter where they're coming from. It matters how we treat them when we get here and where we try to advance them to. So the whole thing is just, awesome. And there's so much that can be done with it. I think it's amazing for that purpose. So what thoughts do you want to leave with the readers and future readers before we talk about your event for next week?
And with teachers too, I failed to mention this about teaching culturally relevant pedagogy, because as an African-American woman, that's a minority twice, it's good to see that children see everything and everyone and have an appreciation for all cultures, all backgrounds, and like you said, the different zip codes. All of that is very important in a classroom setting, because in a classroom setting, those children become your family. In a school building, those children become your family. Then you have a district. So you want to have a change of mindset so that children can be truly educated, not just through numbers and through letters, but through words and actions with what we do. So just a thought to leave them with, my readers, the people that have supported me, just always be mindful of basically what you just said. Those are human beings that you're dealing with, whether we're 55, 5, 10, everyone has to start somewhere. We all get a little frustrated at times, but we're learning and we're growing. So I always try to tell people we're growing through. And when you're growing through, we want to get to the other side to see what kind of seeds we planted. And we always want to sow on fertile ground.
Yes.
So fertile ground helps us in every way to see what the outcome is going to be. And that's what I look at when I deal with children and parents too. We have to be patient in a lot of ways, because that's their most prized possession.
Exactly.
So we're turning some trash, what we think is trash, like, oh, they're coming from over there or they're coming from over here, but it's someone's treasure, and we have to be sure that we are sowing into them. So we may not get everything we want, but we can plant something in them that they can carry it with them. I remember my first, she was my second administrator, and she's pretty much a mentor to me too. You always saw her, and she was giving and giving and giving of herself, and she made you give as well. Mm-hmm. She demanded that. And to this day, I look at her, I'm like, oh boy, what does she have for me? But the expectations she had for me are the same expectations she had for herself. So she sowed a good seed in me and well.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, tell us about your event that by this time next Sunday, it will have already happened.
Okay, I'll be having a book signing. A lot of people have asked me, Katrina, can you stop by here and sign my book? Well, I'm flattered. And I said, well, I'm going to try to do it all at one time. So I'll be having a book signing, and it's through RSVP. And I would really appreciate it if you are interested in coming, or if you want your book signed, if you could just send me a message. You can send that message through kjlegacyreads@gmail.com. Excuse me, at gmail.com. And then there's also a website that's coming, same thing, kjlegacyreads.com. And we'll be adding to that as we go along. But that event will happen in Spartanburg. So I will be having a book signing in Greenville as well. But this one will be for my Spartanburg people, so they don't have to travel over. And it will start at 2 o'clock.
Awesome. I'm typing your email address in the chat there, and we can follow up and put the other information in there as well when it's over. So that is amazing. I know that's going to be an awesome event. And I do want people to know that you will have books there available. And so if they have not purchased, we're asking them to please wait, purchase your book at the signing. If you don't, for whatever reason, get to make the signing, then after the signing, you can contact Ms. Johnson at kjlegacyreads@gmail.com. And if you're far away and want a book and you just can't access her, you can still go to Barnes and Noble, you can go to Amazon, and you can go online. But purchasing from her, supporting her at her signing is going to be wonderful. But regardless as to where you buy the book, if it's her or if it's online, do leave a review, because that is one of the best gifts that you can give authors. When people who don't know Katrina Johnson, or they don't know the family story, they don't know how beautiful this story is, but they just see the cover of a beautiful book, then they can see that other people have read this book, other people have enjoyed this story, other people love these illustrations, and they can purchase the book based on these great recommendations and references and reviews that you're going to leave for us. So I'm asking you to do that. Thank you. We appreciate that in advance. So is there anything else that you would like to share? It's been great talking with you. As always, I have enjoyed seeing this year come about. It's interesting because we did some publishing last year, but not a whole lot. It's funny how many people were at home and really finished their stories and got them to the point where they were really ready to publish. And so your illustrations took a while because they are so detailed and because they are so beautiful. And so here we are, almost a year from when we first started talking.
Yeah.
It's been a great partnership, a great collaboration. I know you've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in the process as well. We grow and learn from each other, but I am just very blessed and honored to have had the opportunity to work on such an awesome project.
And I as well, because you've been tremendously supportive. You've been just knowledgeable, and having that you have, I appreciate you wanting to help other people and inspire them about writing their story, inspire them about putting things down on paper, even if it doesn't develop into an 8-page or an 8-chapter book, but eventually it may come about. So I just appreciate you just being so inspirational to so many people, because a lot of people aren't that patient. A lot of people aren't that willing to want to help others while they are in business, but you sow good seeds, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all of it, because I have learned, and I think there was a question once about self-publishing. Right now, I'm not interested in that. So I want to refer as many as I possibly can to Hadassah's Crown Publishing, because they are truly what they are. They have a crown on them, although you may not see it as in a physical tiara form, but it is a crown, and it's a crown of glory, because that brings people to you when you want to, or when you're willing to help people. So I do appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. And you've been patient. You've been wonderful to work with, because we have had, a couple of hiccups. Mostly everything has been smooth, but your reaction, your patience, and the way you've handled things is much appreciated, because while we we publish excellence with integrity. Some things sometimes happen that are beyond our control, but again, you have been very wonderful, you know, to work with, and you've been understanding, and we greatly appreciate that. So I've said it to you privately. I wanted to say it to you publicly as well. And I do want to say, we've had a number of people who've come on. Hello, everybody who's out there. Thank you so much for the support, the kind words. We've had some congratulations that have come through, and so we do appreciate everyone. Anyone who is not here, who gets to see the video or the recording later, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, because we did do an interview last month, and that we would come back to thank people for that overwhelming support of the actual launch that happened the weekend of July 8th. And so it's been, you know, refreshing for both of us. It's been inspiring. It's been, you know, just motivational for us to keep going. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Continue to follow Legacy Reads, KJ Legacy Reads, and we pray that the signing next week is an abundance of just amazing support. So we do that in advance. Well, you're so welcome. Well, thank you. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of your evening, and you'll have a wonderful week. It's been great speaking with you.
You as well. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Night.